Hi guys, I'm Shelley. Welcome back to my channel where I sometimes talk about books and I sometimes talk about my health, which is what I'm going to do today because I have a new thing wrong with me. Maybe I should just start a series of all the things that are wrong with me. Here's the list. But yeah, I have a new thing that has happened, which I've talked about previously on a vlog called The Vlog That Goes Wrong. Because I went to get a hearing test, and the long or the short of it is, I now have, I don't know if you can see, little baby tiny hearing aids and Wally. Yes, so how did this situation happen at 33? So it's a bit of a long story. It's been a slog trying to get these. I've needed hearing aids for like 4 years, and we're finally at the stage where I now have them and they're done and they're finished and they're configurated, and I can't tell you how happy I am about that. But how did I lose my hearing, or a significant section of my hearing, at the age of 33? Settle down, get a cup of tea or coffee or a beverage of your choice. So 4 or 5 years ago I was extremely sick. By extremely sick I mean I ended up in hospital. I had tube feeding and I was on oxygen and I was very, very sick. Anyway, just before that happened, I was noticing I was having some hearing issues. I didn't know if it was just where I was so run down or whether I actually had hearing issues. Now, I have worn headphones for most of my life, and most of my life my mother has told me, turn the volume down or you will go deaf. I know, Mum, sorry. So assuming that that's what it was, I talked to my doctor and asked if I could be transferred or referred to a hearing specialist to just have a bit of a poke around, because I was missing sections of conversation, I was missing noise, I was finding it really hard to listen to things, and I'd have to turn the volume up really loud, which annoys all of my neighbours. It took about 6 months to get an appointment. They were backed up, and by the time that happened I'd gotten really ill. Don't really remember the first test that much, except for when I went in to have it. They ran the test, and then they looked in my ears after they ran the test and found lots and lots of wax. The guy sent me to go and have my ears sort of vacuumed. There was this really big machine and they stuck it in my ear and it was a bit disgusting, and loads of wax came out. And then I went home. They didn't run the test a second time. Now obviously the first time it had said you have hearing loss, but it's just like, well, it's probably the wax, then you're fine, go home, because the second they removed the wax they just assumed that my hearing would be fine again, because I was like 26, 27. I'd never had hearing problems before. At that point I'd gotten so ill that the hearing was the last thing on the list of things that needed to be dealt with. The whole time I was in hospital, staying there for the 4 months, again I had headphones permanently on my head because of anxiety. I cannot go into what my mental state in the hospital, but I wasn't very good. And so I permanently had headphones on because it would keep me calm. So when I came out of the hospital and noticed I was having hearing issues again, I just thought, oh, maybe one, it could be my anxiety and I can't separate noises, and I'm still trying to, maybe I've got a bit of PTSD, which I did have, and I still do have. So I was having, sensory issues because of that. Maybe it was because I'd had headphones on all of the time for 4 months. It could have been a lot of reasons. I'd also had pneumonia, so inner ear problems. I put it down to that. But over the last couple of years it has sort of not cleared. When I went to Specsavers to have my glasses checked, my eyesight checked, they were offering free hearing tests. So I went and I had this quick little beep test. They just put some headphones on your head and you click a button every time you hear a beep. Basically it came back with 45% hearing loss in one ear and 55% in the other. I did mention that I had EDS, and she goes, well, you might want to look into that because EDS is linked to hearing loss. But meanwhile I'm going to write to your GP to advise you to have a full audiology test, a full hearing test. So that was how it was left in April. It's November, people. Back in April that happened, but a bunch of other things happened. I had a cancer scare, I had a car accident, I went on holiday, a bunch of stuff happened with my family. A lot of things happened. It wasn't until about August, I think, I noticed that I'd never heard anything back from the doctor. That goes to show how stressed I was. that my hearing and the fact that I was losing conversation and losing quite a lot of just awareness just didn't factor in my life because I had so many other things going on. So phoned the surgery. They'd lost the original email, and so I sent it to them for a second time. Then I rang a week later. They'd lost the email again, and they hadn't logged the original call or the call before that. Oh god, the back and forward between it's like it's been since April. Can you just, I just need an appointment. So basically I didn't see a doctor. They forwarded me, in the end, after many complaints and many calls back to the surgery. Again, I was still dealing with receptionists. I never at this point ever talked to a doctor. I had a letter saying they'd referred me back to Specsavers for a full audiology report. Great, grand. I'll try and let it go. All of the stress of the last couple of months and trying to get this damn appointment, I'll just let it go, and I'll go and I have my audiology appointment, which is the vlog that I made a couple of months ago. Yeah, so if you watched that, I turned up very, very nervous, very sick, but I really, really needed to have this appointment because I was really noticing some serious issues. Felt like an idiot all the time, not being able to hear things, and trying to lip read when you've got cognitive difficulties is very difficult. So I finally went to this audiology appointment. We talked about EDS because I found out that EDS is really, really linked, which I will go into in a minute, with hearing loss, and it could be the reason that I was having issues. He took one look in my ear and just said, "You're filled with wax. I can't do the test." So he had to send me home. Again. At this point I was in tears and very, very upset because I was ill and I've been fighting this since April. It feels like a fight. When you're dealing with my doctor's surgery, it feels like a fight. I realise that it's not necessarily their fault, it's the NHS, and they haven't got enough doctors and they haven't got enough staff, and they're dealing with so many things they shouldn't have to deal with. And I'm so very grateful for the NHS, but at the same time, yeah, the receptionists are very, very difficult to deal with. Finally got a nice receptionist who booked me in to talk to a doctor, and then booked me in to see a nurse to have them syringed. So that happened. This is a really long story, isn't it? The day the doctor was supposed to phone me, and she never phoned. So I called the next day. And she said, "Oh no, you're still on the list, we didn't get to you." "Why were you talking to the doctor?" I'm just like, "Because I have wax in my ears and she was going to prescribe me something to soften it." And she's like, "The doctor doesn't prescribe anything to soften your wax, you just put olive oil in." It's like, oh. Did that for 6 weeks, went in, had my ear syringed by the nurse, who was lovely. Afterwards it was very difficult because obviously I had wax in my ears for 5 years, so take that out and your balance is a bit screwed because obviously inner ear balance. I was smashing into everything for about 3 days, very, very dizzy, had tinnitus really badly. Everything was a mess, but at least it was done. So where are we now? God knows. So I had yet another audiology appointment after that. I phoned them back up and said, "Look, I had an appointment 6 weeks ago, whatever, and the guy said I could just phone back up and have another appointment." He said, "Well, not really, you have to go through your doctor again." I was like, please, please, please don't say that. Please don't. Luckily, the guy who did my original appointment was in the office that day, and she said, "I'll go and talk to him," and he just said, "Yeah, no, sign her straight through, just get her another appointment, it's fine." He knew the situation, he knew what happened, he knew the amount of fuss that I'd gone to get a first appointment. So he's been, throughout this whole thing, he has been outstanding. So he sorted me out with another appointment, which I went in for a couple of weeks ago. We redid the original test and lots of other tests on top of that, and he just said, yeah, the complete top range of your hearing is a goner. You're just not hearing anything above a certain range, and you are starting to lose the bottom part of your hearing at the age of 33. I did have a conversation with him about EDS, and we had a little chat, and he said, to be honest, I don't think it's the headphones in your ears constantly that's done this. I think it's your EDS. Basically there are 3 bones in your ears, which means 3 joints, and EDS attacks the collagen everywhere, but also around joints. So basically these 3 bones that are supposed to vibrate and let you hear different frequencies and just not doing their job. They're not vibrating on the right level because the joints aren't working properly because of a lack of collagen. So due to EDS, I have lost a significant amount of my hearing, which I found weird. I mean, on one level, I'm so ecstatic about having hearing aids. I'm so ecstatic about having a problem fixed, because it was affecting my life so much, especially in social situations, trying to go on dates. God, it's so embarrassing when you can't concentrate on what somebody's saying and you can't hear what somebody's saying, because that's what's been happening. I've been reading lips for so long, I didn't realise I was doing it so much. I mean, the guy who was doing my test had a conversation with me and then did this and carried on the conversation. I had no idea what he was saying, and he was like sat like right in front of me, and I couldn't hear him at all. I couldn't work out what he was saying, and he's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I've got a couple of options. You can carry on reading lips, could start learning sign language, or I can give you hearing aids. He said, but I realised that might be a bit tricky because, you know, you're 33 and do you want that? And I just said, I want the hearing aids, give me the hearing aids. I realised that at 33 it's a bit of a image thing. It's just like, yeah, admitting that you know, wearing hearing aids at 33 is a bit weird. Obviously there are people who have lost their hearing a lot earlier. There are children who lose their hearing. There are people who are completely deaf. I am not in a minority here. Lots of people lose their hearing. It was, yeah, a bit of a shock. Just like, it's yet another thing that is wrong with me. A lot of things have been going wrong with my body lately that make me more and more disabled and more not normal. And the self-image thing has been rather difficult to deal with lately, because it's just like, I'm basically in the body of a 60-year-old and I'm 33, and the hearing was just another thing. But at the same time, I'm so glad to have my own hearing aids. I'm so glad to be able to have the help. I'm so glad that the NHS is there to be able to help me with them, because I couldn't afford to go private at any point, because these things are thousands of pounds. It's ridiculous. And then the batteries, and then the cleaning equipment and everything. It's just so much. I now have them. I've recently gone back this week for another test to configure them properly and to make sure that they were working properly. He's been lovely throughout this whole thing. Specsavers have been great. I haven't had any issue with Specsavers at all. Obviously I'm not sponsored. But they've been really great throughout this whole system. But yeah, I am now a human with hearing aids, which is really weird. I'll take one out and show you them. Feels really weird. So this is, do the beauty blogger thing, the little contraption that goes behind my ear. Then you have the wire, and then you have, this is the thing that goes inside my ear like that. Obviously I don't have them on all of the time throughout the day. I just put them in now and again when I think I need them. And I've got a really loud upstairs neighbour, so it's really helpful to take them out sometimes. I'll just pop this back in. Clips, if I can show you, behind the ear like that, and then that guy goes in your ear, and it just feels really strange, but of course I can hear better the second that they're in. And I can hear so much better already, especially now they've been reconfigured. I didn't realise the amount of hearing loss I have. Like, I couldn't hear indicators on cars. There's beeping in my flat I was unaware of. My washing machine beeps. Like, I knew it beeped a little bit, but there's the whole new level and frequency of beeping I was unaware of. But yeah, so it turns out that with EDS you can have hearing loss. I've talked to a couple of friends since having these, and they have been experiencing hearing loss as well. So a few of them have gone for hearing tests, and they're hopefully going to chase them up with a doctor, because these things do get overlooked quite a lot, especially if you're younger. I never really considered that hearing loss would be something that is linked to EDS, hypermobility. I mean, you know, it is bones, but at the same time, and joints, but it just didn't figure in my head. It really didn't. That was the reason, and it wasn't the fact that I'd had headphones on since I was like 12. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that story time. Sorry I prattled on quite a lot, but it's been a long story. It's been going on for like 4 years. And I'm very grateful it's come to a close and now I can move on to the next crisis. On to the next health issue. So I'll probably see you in a few weeks when I've taken up the next problem. Oh, I've got about 3 scans coming up. This is going to go well. Anyway, I hope you guys are good and I will see you guys soon. Okay. Bye. Here's the downside. I can hear my upstairs neighbour sneeze and pee. Yeah. There are times when I really need to take these out. There's ASMR and then there's no.